Today I'm going to show you 3 common mistakes I see that lead to people failing to get a fire, and I'm going to tell you 2 simple steps to follow to help ensure you get a fire made. Let's go. Okay, looking at this fire lay, there are some good things going on, but I can already tell you this fire lay is not going to ignite into a fire. It's not going to become a sustainable fire, especially if we're using something like a ferro rod as our ignition source or even a lighter. First off the bat, first mistake here is this. This is an unprocessed tinder ball. This tinder ball is not going to catch a spark very well. It's not going to extend that flame out. The whole purpose of a tinder ball, right, is extend that flame out to catch our kindling on fire, right? So here's problem number 1. Number 2, look at the size of this fuel that they already have on the fire. The stuff they have on top, yes, it's dry, it is processed down, but this is still way too big for that tinder ball to start burning in a good configuration that's going to make it extendable flame. And even these things way off to the side, like this stick here, you can see is larger than my thumb, along with these over here. And this is very common stuff. These are the common mistakes I see, and a lot of it's because we are so used to using other means of fire, like, you've seen it at camps, people using diesel or charcoal lighter or something like that. That's not a true mastery of making fire. And then of course I had this, how I had this set up here, this was all placed really tight. There's not a lot of gaps in here, there's not a lot of airflow, and there's not a lot of elevation so we can get some airflow in there, and that violates some of the rules that we need for fire. Fire making isn't only about ignition source and what we're using to make that fire. It's about 2 primary principles: selection and preparation. Knowing what natural resources that we have available, knowing that we're grabbing the right stuff, and how we prepare those for fire making in the fire process, right? If we don't take that time to do it on the front end, we're just gonna sit there and struggle for no reason. And kind of like, we just had a firecraft class here this past weekend, and not everybody's made primitive fires, right? Like, we haven't made bow drill fires or hand drill fires, I get it. But if you treat every fire like it's a primitive fire, if you process everything and pay attention to details to that extent, you'll have a lot easier time, especially if you're using something like a lighter or a ferro rod. It just kind of makes it an easier process and less frustration for you. All right, so when we're talking about the fire, we really need to understand and avoid those common mistakes, because we have to follow that fire triangle, right? We have to know what a fire needs, and a fire has to have air, it has to have some heat, and then it has to have fuel, but it has to have all those things in the right proportions and the right ingredients, if you will, okay? Certain woods burn at different temperatures. We should know what our natural resources are around us that are going to help us achieve that fire. And so, for example, this is cedar bark. Cedars are really common here in Arkansas, and this stuff is gold. Like, this is really good tinder source, but in this capacity, you can tell this is still really hard. There's big chunks in here, like that. And while this may take a flame, if we were to sit there and hold a lighter to it for an extended period of time, it's not going to easily or readily take a flame. And that's where the preparation comes in. So we've met the mark of the right selection, but we got to do the right prep. And to start prepping, you just start, processing this down until you get a nice, good tinder ball. And we would, do this, try to do this all over a work area. So we're keeping all that dust that you see coming out of there. If the camera's catching that, we want to keep all those fine little particles to help it make a fire. This is how we want our tinder ball to look after we process it down. And it should be like light and fluffy in your hand. There should be air caught up in there, and it should feel dry to the touch, as that nice dust is coming off. But now we have all these fine fibers that are going to help, catch the spark that we need to extend this flame to make a sustainable fire. Now that we have the tinder and that we selected the right material, right, keeping that in mind, selection and preparation, We selected the right material. We've prepared it in the right way. Now we got to talk about when we start moving away from tinder and start remembering that what our fire requires. We start moving to kindling, and that's going to be something like this, something about this size or maybe even smaller. This will be like a kindling bundle here. This is a bunch of dry goldenrod and dry grass, and these are even smaller than that stick I'm holding up, if you can see that, right? So this is going to be our fuel progression. This is what we're really looking for, because this is the stuff that's going to easily catch that flame from our tinder source and start burning more. If this is any bigger sticks, if this is like, you know, even this size, or even stuff like this that's been processed down and we know it's dry, this is still too big to catch that open flame unless we just have a very large, long burning tinder ball. Okay, so you want something like this as opposed to this on top of your tinder ball to extend that flame. I'm not packing this down to make it a bundle or anything like that. This needs to be kind of spacious, and it doesn't need to be nice and pretty. We can even kind of mess it up a little bit, because that's creating more airflow in there for it to start burning. All right, so you can see this is going to be our new fire lay. I have some sticks down here at the bottom that are going to help prevent some conduction from the ground, and I have these small that are only slightly bigger than my kindling, right, on the sides here. And I'm just kind of letting them fall as they may to capture that air. I'm not packing them down like I'm making a house. I'm going to put my small kindling bundle up here up top. Again, you see how it's just setting up top, and the wind might even blow it out. And now I have my fluffy tinder ball, and I'm going to set it right here in the middle, up a little bit, so I have a nice big area to catch a flame. And when that tinder ball catches, I'll rotate this over, and that'll start burning everything up. It's going to be a lot easier for that processed tinder ball and for these other sticks to catch on fire. All right, so I hope that helps you out. I hope we see how selection and preparation, that is key. Knowing what we're grabbing, what natural resources are around us that are good for making fire, and preparing them in the right way. Go to Arkansas Survival, check out our upcoming courses, and as always, thanks for watching.